Thank you, is this on? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for those very rich presentations from Carlos and Monty that I think have very well set the scene. And I should first off welcome Minister Tabare Aguirre, who's just joined us as well. We've set the scene. We've shown what's been going on. It's been an incredibly busy 2 years in looking at what's been happening. We're now moving to look at, this is what we're trying to do in research for development. What's the enabling environment that we can create to allow these changes to happen? And so now we move to the policymakers to hear about what they're doing, what they've done over the last 2 years, and what they intend to do to make these changes happen and create the opportunity for these changes to happen. So I'd like to first off welcome our moderator for the session, Dr. Raj Paroda. Dr. Paroda is also the chair of the organizing committee for this conference, so we all owe him a very big thank you for your efforts in pulling all of this together. Dr. Paroda, as you know, was formerly the Director General of the Indian Council on Agricultural Research and Secretary for the Department of Agricultural Research and Education in India, and also served with the CGIR in Central Asia in bringing together actions across the region there. He has been the Executive Secretary for APARI for 22 years, I think now, and in fact has just been re-endorsed by the members of APARI as the Executive Secretary for a further period. Dr. Paroda will moderate for our session. I'd also like to welcome Carlos Serre. Can't see you, Carlos. Just being microphoned. Many of you will know Carlos from his former life as the Director General of the International Livestock Research Institute. He has now joined IFAD, where he's the Chief Development Strategist and heads the Office of Strategy and Knowledge Management. And prior to that, Carlos worked with IDRC in this region. I'd like to welcome Esther Penunia. Esther is a farmer and the Secretary General of the Asian Farmers Association for Sustainable Rural Development, or AFA, which is a regional alliance that's been established for 10 years now.
Welcome, Esther.
Esther and AFA carry out programs on policy advocacy, capacity development, and governance, and particularly in relation to social development and rural development, working with farmers, fisherfolk, and addressing IP issues. Also, I'm very pleased to announce Alexander Muller. Alexander? Yeah. Alexander is the Assistant Director General for Natural Resource Management and Environment in the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. Prior to his work with the UN, he was the State Secretary in the Federal Ministry of Consumer Protection, Food and Agriculture in Germany, and before that, a Member of Parliament and Chairman of the Caucus of the Green Party in Germany. Alexander, welcome. Sujiro Seam, we saw you briefly yesterday in the signing ceremony. Sujiro was born in Cambodia and has been a career diplomat, I think I can say is the technical term for it, working through various departments, including the European Commission as seconded national expert, the French permanent representation to the EU for fisheries and regional policy in the outermost regions. More recently, he joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France as Assistant Director for Food Security and Economic Development, and last year became the Deputy Director for Global Public Goods. So Sujiro has been very active in the L'Aquila Food Security Initiative under the French presidency of the G8 and co-facilitator for food security in the Development Working Group under the French presidency of the G20. Welcome, Sujiro. Victor Villalobos. Victor is a well-recognized expert in agriculture and biological fields, as well as in natural and genetic resources. He's published widely. He's been appointed 2 times by the Mexican presidency as Undersecretary in the federal government. He has worked in CATIE, the International Agriculture Research Center, and he is now working as the Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, or IICA, where he served for the last 2 years. So we have a very distinguished panel, And I'll hand over now to our moderator, Raj Baroda.
I have my mic. Thank you, Mark, for your kind words and introduction of all the panelists. Dear colleagues, we are running little late, and maybe we have to adjust time now and see that we are able to still cover this particular important session, which is mainly focusing on innovation for impact on smallholder farmers. In the previous presentations, both by Monty and by Carlos, we clearly had a very good idea as to how we have progressed from G-Card 1 to G-Card 2. And they had also very succinctly indicated as to what is happening and how new partnerships are building. I would not like to again repeat, and therefore I have avoided my PowerPoint presentation, but there were important key messages from G-Card 1, which we must try to keep in background for this discussion. One was, as was indicated, we have to see that moving away from business as usual would be needed. We need holistic approach to agriculture research for development. This came out very clearly. And therefore, rather than crop and commodity approach, now we have to think of farming systems approach in our reorientation of agricultural research. Also, involvement of all stakeholders, and the main message was that while we reorient our agriculture research for development agenda, it has to be farmer-centric. So farmer first. And that's why we are happy we have a panelist representing the farmers from Asia. Also, it was very clear that we need now concerted efforts to bring in change. And changes are taking place. And in that context, I also bring to your kind notice 2-3 important statements of the previous conference, and that was Kanayo Navanje had said that a small farmer to be seen as entrepreneur. So for any inclusive growth in agriculture, we need to see that farmers' interest has to be kept into consideration. Ismail Seregardin has said that we must be the new abolitionist of poverty, and that is what is needed in the context of meeting the strategic research framework of CGIAR and also the Millennium Development Goals. And the G-Card report of Uma Lele had clearly indicated that research is essential for development, but is not in itself sufficient, which means we need to really do more and see that there is an impact on smallholder farmers. So the focus of this whole conference had been shifted from the first one, which was around reorientation of agriculture research for development agenda, to that of particularly in the context of innovation for impact on smallholder farmers. And that's the focus of this particular panel discussion. And we are very pleased that we have eminent panelists with us who are going to share their views on various issues which are of greater importance. I would first come to our panelist who is farmer. Esther, it has been said that smallholder farmers to be first. And it is also said that farmers need knowledge. It is also recognized that farmers have to help themselves to build the strength that is needed. We would like to hear from you. What are your expectations and what are your experiences in this regard? And also, please do tell us the outcome of the recent meeting which you had organized in partnership with APARI in Bangkok, inviting farmers from various countries to deliberate the research agenda that farmers themselves should pursue. And we would like brief intervention so that we have time for each one to have 2 or 3 rounds if possible. And then we would like to have some feedback from the audience before we conclude. Mike?
And perspectives in terms of partnering with different stakeholders for agriculture research and development. AFA, Asian Farmers Association. AFA, Asian Farmers Association, is a regional alliance of national farmers organizations, currently having 12 national farmers organizations in 10 countries in Asia. We have many experiences in engaging governments, NGOs, private sector, and other farmers' organizations for improving agriculture for the benefit of small-scale women and men farmers. For example, in Cambodia, 200 farmers from Farmer and NatureNet were able to upscale system of rice intensification, which the IFAD president yesterday said that was very successful. And this
Microphone, hold on. Is that on now?
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So, as I am saying, we have had many experiences in partnering with governments, private sector, NGOs, and other farmers' organizations for agriculture research and development to benefit small-scale women and men farmers. In Cambodia, for example, our member has successfully upscaled the system of rice intensification, and now the government is adopting it as a national rice strategy. The system of rice intensification has brought increased incomes and has increased the self-confidence of farmers as researchers and as scientists. And these are mainly because of farmer-to-farmer learning, sharing, and experimenting together with other technicians. So I think farmers we can through our groups, organizations, built at local, national, regional, and international levels. Dr. Raj said that we had conducted a regional consultation in preparation for GCARD with the support of APARI and GFAR last September. And we have these key messages because Dr. Raj is asking us to share this. We have 4 key messages. One is we would like agriculture research and development investments be focused on sustainable, integrated, diversified, resilient, economically viable agriculture. We know, for example, that many farmers in Asia are still into chemical-intensive agriculture, but we know also that this is bringing more poverty to farmers. So we would like also research so that we can transit or transform from, for example, high-input fertilizers to low-input and to organic fertilizers. We also would like to strengthen capacities of the farmers in merging local and modern wisdom through organizing, policy advocacy, and linking small farmers to market and in value addition of the products. We also would like to strengthen links between research advisory, extension, and partnerships. And lastly, we would like to empower farmers in the meaningful sense of the word by institutionalizing mechanisms. We hope there will be institutionalized mechanisms for meaningful participation, for example, in CGIR, in APARI, in national research institutions, in national entities and international entities that make policies for farmers and agriculture for development. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Excellent. So we need to involve farmers in not only the research activities, but also in decision making, monitoring and evaluation. These are essential requirements. I'll now come to Carlo Serre. This statement of Canayo, farmer as entrepreneur, which is very critical in today's context to link farmers to market. And that is the only way by which we can address poverty to a greater extent and enhance the farmers' capacity for investment. So we would like your views as to how IFAD is trying to initiate new dimensions for linking farmers to market.
Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a real pleasure for me, Raj, to be here and be invited to share this panel, particularly coming back to my home country. So very, very appreciated. At IFAD, we are very much the organization, if you want, which works with rural development. Our mandate is to take rural poor out of poverty. Very clearly, our historical engagement is with governments, supporting governments in providing a conducive environment for smallholder development. Why is this so important? You're basically, by addressing smallholder development, you're hitting three big questions the world has today. One is food security. The fact is, smallholders produce a very significant part of the food consumed around the world. The second part is poverty. Very clearly, if you develop smallholders, you're addressing a very significant part of rural poverty. Third, smallholders manage the natural resources. So if you address how they manage, you address sustainability of our systems. So for many parts of the world, rural development, smallholder-driven rural is central. Now, the big change we're facing is that in this changing world, the demand for food has increased significantly. There's a lot more opportunities for smallholders. There's a huge increase in demand. The real challenge is how you link that global demand to smallholder supply. And that's where IFAD is positioned. So we particularly work on understanding a lot better how these value chains can be made pro-poor. There is very clearly a number of smallholders who will naturally be able to engage with value chains. And the experience with coffee, tea, many other commodities shows it can be done. But the real challenge is on staple foods. How can we organize farmers? How can we provide the roads, the infrastructure, the services to make that happen? That is a real challenge. And the changing context, higher prices, private investment, they all mean that we have to work differently. And this is where we're putting a lot of effort in IFAD to help governments change the way you do things in order to be able to attract large private sector investments to get those value chains functional for the poorest. And the government has very important functions there, but they're different from the past. If in the past the government ran the extension service, now the question is, how do you make knowledge systems work, and how do you provide incentives for all sorts of players to provide knowledge? So basically, we are in IFAD very much seeing that by driving this with active government participation, you can increase the participation of a lot more less viable farmers, making them have a chance to participate in this changing world game. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. We appreciate your intervention. We all are aware that farmer is at receiving end and he needs knowledge. I have been working for last 2 years with the Farmers Commission in one of the states, very progressive state where we had green revolution in India. And when I interact with them, they are saying two things, that give us knowledge and give us the opportunity to build our capacity. I think these are still important requirements. And we know FAO is doing a great deal in this regard. And whether it is knowledge, whether it is linking research to development, whether it is also bringing all stakeholders together. So I would now pass on to Dr. Alexander to kindly take over the floor.
No, Mike.
No, now it's working.
No.
Thanks a lot, Chair. Good morning to everybody. I would like to start with briefly looking at the magnitude of the challenge, because we should not forget we are not dealing with a small problem, we are dealing with a big, big problem for smallholders. Then I would like to spend a minute in analyzing already existing barriers for innovation, because if we are talking towards more innovation, we have to overcome the already existing barriers. And then I would like to link to something which was presented by Carlos this morning, the foresight, because we know quite a lot of what will happen in the very near future. There are a lot of uncertainties, but the big trends are clear. And then I could formulate what innovation means from my perspective. So let's briefly start with the magnitude. We are talking about around 500 million farms in the world, providing food for 2.5 billion people, employing 1.5 billion farmers, in some areas of the world providing 80% of the food. If we are talking about innovation, we have to look how we can change the situation on the ground. So looking at the impact, the improvement in the livelihoods under very different circumstances is the most important issue. And therefore, I really think that the GCARD conference is absolutely necessary, because there is no place in the world where we can bring farmers and scientists together, looking at institution building, at knowledge sharing, at building up platforms, than GCARD. This is a unique conference, and therefore, Carlos, the question, are we spending too much money in bringing 700 million people together to solve the problem of 500 million small-scale farmers? I think this is well-invested money if we take this serious. And let's not forget, we are also talking about 400 million people making the living in forests, 100 million small-scale fishermen, women working there. This is the challenge ahead of us, and therefore we have to concentrate on improving the livelihoods. But we have also to take into account already existing barriers. It was mentioned 3 times since yesterday in the evening, and we have to repeat it more often. Just getting or providing equal access for women to productive resources could increase productivity by 30%. Just equal access. Looking at access to credits, access at natural resources, access to information. So we have to take into account in our innovation systems how the information, how innovation can be translated to the ground so that really farmers can benefit for it. My third item is the foresight. We know quite a lot about what is going to happen in the next years with climate change. We are going far beyond the 2 degrees centigrade. In sub-Saharan Africa, people are talking about 4 degrees increase on average temperature, which means an increased frequency of droughts and floods. In one year you will have a drought, next year you will have a flood. Therefore, we know that climate change is the primary mean where all the emissions of the developed world will have an impact on poor people in the developing country. And there's also a question of global justice behind, and innovation has to address it, because innovation has to address also the resilience of the farming systems. These farming systems are at risk, and we have to increase the resilience. And therefore, from my perspective, innovation really means bringing the farmers and the scientists together in order to identify the needs of the farmers and to identify ways how the outcome of the research can really be used on the ground. The use of information is the most important thing under these difficult circumstances. And therefore, access to information, investing in global public goods, having innovative extension services, this all has to be brought into this picture, and only then can we make a difference. And the difference means feeding, everybody has said it, a growing population. Alone in Africa, the population will increase by 1 billion people. Most of them will live in urban cities, in urban areas, and therefore the whole environment is changing rapidly. And innovation, well-defined innovation, defined in a way where farmers and scientists work together in order to improve the situation on the ground is most important. Let me say it in one word, in the end, farmers have to be happy with innovation, not the scientists.
Thank you very much. Now that the last concluding para by Muller had been that innovation must be relevant and farmers must be happy. I'll come to you, Victor, because a lot is being done in Latin America with regard to innovation and being leader of the national agriculture research systems in the region. How we are reorienting our research agenda, because often it is said you don't need research just for the sake of publications, but you now need research to have impact, and impact can only come if you have translational research in place and emphasis on innovation. So how you are reorienting and how you are bringing partnership together in Latin America?
Thank you, Dr. Paroda. Good morning. Thank you very much for the question. I think it's important to first to take in consideration that we have to build a relationship in between the farmers, the national institutes, the NARCs, and also the regional and international organizations. In this aspect, I think we are talking here about first the paradigm shift for coordination on all the stakeholders. I would like to say that in the Americas, we focus mainly in promoting the national agriculture innovation systems, CINIAS, as we call in Spanish. In the Inter-American Institute of Cooperation, IICA, we consider that the paradigm shift towards innovation requires to involve all the stakeholders. In this way, we include, of course, research and extension. We can certainly with producers and the actors of the whole value chain. We have to take in consideration that innovation in agriculture is more efficient when we have in place the national innovation systems. So these systems provides the platform for which new knowledge and technologies are generated, are of course disseminated, and are used. Our institute, IICA, is committed to support the national innovation systems and strengthening agriculture research for development. But that, of course, will require institutional transformations in the different organizational components. And for that, in order to accomplish these objectives, IICA is being developed some methodological frameworks that are available for all our member countries. Also, we like to say that in the scenarios of uncertainty, of course, and volatility in which we are facing now, prospective analysis are essential for the decision-making and for the critical areas. And in these critical areas, I would like to mention, for instance, public and private investments, the training of human capacities, and the definition of research and innovation agendas. Some of these studies have to be carried on in, of course, in Latin America, in our countries. Some of them are at the national level, and others are at sub-regional level. So we are happy and we are pleased to say that we are strengthening these mechanisms to a very efficient platform based in the access of the different instruments that we are providing through the network.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. I appreciate that. And we have amongst our panelists one very important person in the context of addressing food and nutrition security at global level, having been actively involved with the G8 and G20 initiatives, and also LACULA food security initiative at a global level, where the projections had been to the extent of 22 billion US dollars from private sector. I would like to hear your views, Sujiro, in terms of how do we really achieve this important goal of food and nutrition security, which still is to be addressed as a priority.
Thank you very much, Raj. Is this working? I might use your microphone, Alexander. Thank you. Thank you. Merci. Gracias. Thank you very much, Raj. First of all, I would like to say that 2 years ago, I had the pleasure to close the first Global Conference on Agricultural Research for Development in Montpellier, and it is an equal pleasure for me to participate in the opening of the second G-Card here in Punta del Este. It seems to me the world has not changed. Actually, I see the same familiar faces, the same faces from the Agricultural Research for Development community. But actually, the world has changed. And as Carlos Perez del Castillo and Monty Jones told us, the profile of agricultural research for development has improved over 2 years. I would like to think that France has participated to that improvement. And as we used our presidency of the G8 and G20 to really put the emphasis on food security, I would like to highlight a few points about G8, a few points about G20 before I come to my conclusion. As far as G8 is concerned, during the French presidency, when I chaired AFC, I decided to put the emphasis on 3 issues: smallholder producers, innovation, and private and public partnerships. I believe these themes remain highly relevant, and I'm happy that when we passed the relay to our American colleagues, and I know Jonathan Schreier, the current chair of AFC, is here with us in Punta del Este, I'm extremely happy that these features, innovation, smallholder producers, and public-private partnerships, remain key components of the new Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition, which was launched in the Camp David Summit. As far as the G20 is concerned, it was my privilege to insert references to the CGIAR, to the GFAR, to the G-Card into the G20 documents. The most 2 prominent documents were the Action Plan on Agriculture, Food Prices and Food Security, and also the Development Working Group work of the G20. There, really, our purpose was to underline that promoting scientific partnership is crucial to achieve food security. And this is precisely on this item, on agricultural research for development, that we decided to organize a meeting in Montpellier in September last year to keep the momentum. I'm happy to realize that the momentum has been kept until the Mexican presidency of the G20, as a month ago in Guadalajara, in Latin America. There was the first meeting of the Ministry of Agriculture chief scientists, and this meeting allowed the G20 agricultural research community to follow up on the initiatives we took last year. Before I conclude, I would like really to underline one single word, what this is all about, the key success factor for our work. In my view, it will be partnership, but partnership at all levels. Not only partnership between G20 countries, but really partnership involving developing countries, emerging countries, as there are more and more powerful sources of innovation in our world, and also the mature economies. Not only partnership between countries, but partnerships between bilateral partners and multilateral institutions. First of all, of course, the CGIAR research centers and other research bodies, but also the international community at large. The international organizations, the one of my friend Alexander Müller, FAO, the one of my friend Kanayo Nwanze, IFAD, and the multilateral development banks. I'm sure we will have colleagues expressing the views of multilateral development banks, but they are indeed a key component of the system. And partnership is not only between public institutions. Partnership, at the end of the day, it's really for farmers, the private sector, because most of the investment will come from the private sector. It's also a partnership with the most vulnerable people, those who do not have a voice, usually, except in events like these, like the G-Card. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here, because I feel that what GCARD is about is really about partnership, and partnership to deliver on agricultural research for development, to deliver on poverty eradication, and to deliver on food security. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate your emphasis on public-private partnership, which is critical, and this is an important area where much is required to be done. And it seems the investment which we anticipate from private sector to come for agriculture research for development globally is not to the level of expectations in the past. So maybe FAO is also addressing this concern quite significantly. Alexander, you could probably give some idea as to how to build this public-private partnership. Is there any way by which it can be strengthened, where we can increase investment from private sector? They do it when it is their own interest, but when it comes to international public goods, generally we find this is not happening. So how do we accomplish? Could you please just briefly? Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. I see three areas where private-public partnership, public-private partnership can really make a difference. First of all, I think we have to start developing an enabling environment. If we don't have this enabling environment, all the investments are not so efficient as they could be. And I would like to give you also an example. FAO has in its reformed Committee on Food Security, it's a partnership between World Food Programme, IFAD, FAO, private sector, and civil society, endorsed the voluntary guidelines on good governance on tenure of land, fisheries, and forestries. All sectors, civil society, the Rome-based agencies, and private sector have worked together over a longer period of time and have agreed on a framework of good governance on access to natural resources. And here I see one of the big differences if we also, in a second step, jointly implement it, and therefore creating an enabling environment where the partnerships really can make a difference. And therefore, identifying areas where action can be taken jointly is one of the key issues. Agreeing on these frameworks, but being inclusive, having the farmers, having civil society on board, really is absolutely necessary. The second issue where I would like to talk about in partnerships is, if we are talking about public-private sector, we are talking also about small-scale farmers. Also, small-scale farmers are private sector. We should not forget that all the hundreds of millions of small-scale farmers are part of the private sector, and therefore we have to ensure that these private sector, that they really can create a business case. And this is very often linked to the question of access to markets. Local markets, regional markets, and also international markets. And here, again, I come back to my enabling environment. If we don't have this enabling environment, investment in small-scale farmers will lead to nowhere because there is no return on the investment and farmers cannot survive. Third issue is research. And here, I think the CGIAR has to play an important role. We know that public-funded research for agriculture and development is only 10, 15, 20% of the money spent for research. And therefore, we have to look at the role of public-funded research, private-funded research. I'm a big supporter of global public goods because I believe that with public money, we should really create global public goods or public goods, but then link it to private research in order to make the best out of what has been achieved with public spent money. So I see different levels of public-private partnership.
Thank you, Alexander. I now come to Carlos. We would like to hear from you more with regard to IFAD's strategy, which is getting also reoriented to address the concerns of women in agriculture, and also how do we address the Millennium Development Goals much faster so that people below poverty line get reduced than what it is around 850 million today.
Thank you very much. Well, very briefly, IFAD has traditionally heavily focused on individual projects. what we have realized is, being a relatively small organization with a very big mandate to support, we needed to look a lot more at the leverage of what we were doing. And so a very heavy emphasis has now been put in working with partners to really think through how you scale up impacts. And that really has been a significant change in the mindset, which we're mainstreaming into IFAD's programs. We have worked very closely with Brookings Institution, with a number of other partners, to try to really understand from our own experience and other people's experiences what it takes to scale up results. And that, I think, is the major new dimension, if you want, in the thinking. I think everybody agrees we need to do this scaling up, but we don't really know very well how to do it. Centrally to that is obviously partnerships. And we are investing quite heavily in strengthening those partnerships. A very important one, which has been mentioned here, is historically, IFAD has always worked with farmer organizations. We realize that the capacity of farmers to drive the agenda, to organize themselves, are absolutely critical, particularly if you want to work with the private sector and attract all those additional investments. The question of how you make sure that that context is handled in a fair manner, equitable manner, requires strong farmer organizations. So those are some of the ingredients which are absolutely critical to make sure that you really address these MDGs. And really, right now, I think the discussion is already going a step forward after Rio. It's the question of these sustainable development goals. The real challenge, I think, for all of us, and this conference reflects it very well, is we need to achieve economic, social, environmental goals at the same time, and this requires very much coordination. The past G-Card, the first one, I thought, for me, the take-home message was our R4D system is fractured. I think the challenge we agreed is how to do it, to partner, to bring it together. This event is really, I think, taking stock of how we do that. So we at IFAD expect a lot in terms of new ideas, new approaches, which will allow not just IFAD, but all of us to really contribute to getting closer to these MDGs and think beyond 2015, which is really what the Foresight Group is talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. I would like to draw attention of Esther at this stage to two issues. One is that for linking farmers to market in the context of foresight, what is the perception of smallholder farmers which should be done, and whether farmers organizations are addressing this concern of improving foresight, which is important in the context of meeting the future challenges that are before us.
Thank you very much. Am I being heard now? Yes? No?
It's on.
Hello? 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 Okay?
No.
Hello?
Now you're on.
Okay, so with regards to markets, no, I think farmers need markets because we need some cash for our needs for education, for transportation, for health. Okay. So now what are our problems with regards to our markets? First, we need access. Okay. Sometimes there are bad roads, we cannot go to the market. Second is we need infrastructure like facilities, for example, for cold storage, so that we can like save our products and speculate for some prices, and when prices a bit go up, then we can sell our products. So all these things need some research. For example, what kind of equipment, what kind of storage facility, what kind of post-harvest what kind of technologies so that we can reduce post-harvest losses. Okay. Are farmers capable of bringing products to the market? Of course, but if we want to upscale it, we need capacities. We need information, market information. We need skills for market analysis. We even have to know what is the price, for example, in the market, especially in the big wholesale market. Okay. We need capacities for business planning, for feasibility studies. We need capacities, for example, for negotiating with the prices with traders. So all of this, we hope that we need the support of NGOs, of government, extension workers, and even research scientists, so that we can have this knowledge and we can have the skills to market our products, to negotiate, to do value addition like food processing, and also to do some policy advocacy, so that policies for good, for effective and efficient marketing of our products, like having good roads, for example, or having the kind of tax incentives, for example, for some of our products, will be given by governments. We need to be more able to do policy advocacy work, and we need skills for that. So we need all this kind of support. But yes, farmers' organizations have their potentials. The skills are there. We just have to upgrade it and strengthen it so that we can do marketing at a wider scale geographically, also, and along commodity lines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I come then to Victor. Much is again to be learned in terms of how national systems and policymakers are supporting agriculture research in Latin America. You have put in a good system in place, IICA, which you are heading. You have Fontagro, a mechanism where even the bank is involved to manage in partnership. And then you have also on the visionary initiative relating to our foresight initiatives processor. How do you think that all these which are in place now would address all problems that we have been hearing over the last two presentations and from the G-card, covered in G-card roadmap? We'd like to have brief intervention from you.
Thank you. Yeah, we like to say that first talking about equitable partnership, I think we have a long story been building national capacities, assisting the countries in this process. For that, of course, we have to set up the mechanism through which we have to work in the all different networks in this partnership with the member countries. To establish this base, this setup, we kind of define a code of conduct based on respect, ethics, commitment, and determination. So with that, we have been working together with the countries in Latin America and Caribbean countries, support these national regional partnerships of the hemispheric technology and innovation systems. Here, as you mentioned, we have an instrument like FORAGRO, which involves all the NARS, the national programs. We also have the cooperative programs for agriculture research and technology transfer, we call PROCES. That involves 5 different networks being developed on base of different regions, sub-regions, and also some specific crops. For Fontagro, which is the regional fund for agriculture technology, and also we recently developed an innovation network we call Innovagro. So that's the instrument that we have, and again, we have been developed these instruments along with all the countries based on this, not just only the information, but also the setup, the instruments into which we can work on this specifically.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. I'll come back again to Sujiro, especially in the context of North-South partnership. We are all discussing all the time South-South partnership, inter-regional partnership, but there is much which can be gained if the advanced research institutions in the North could build partnership with either the developed national agriculture research systems, or by coming forward, and in that context, France has taken quite a bit of leadership in the past. We would like how you feel that this should be strengthened and further taken up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raj. If AFC and the G20 is about something, it's really about North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation. This is the real added value of processes such as AFC and the G20. And I would see the added value on 4 levels. One, it is an area where we can build a common vision. Through exchanges of views between the participants in the process, we're building a common vision to address the challenges of today and to address the challenges of tomorrow. And this is the reason why the idea of a global agriculture foresight hub is so important. Second, it's not only about speeches, declarations, statements, it's also about actions. And in this area, the idea is really to gather the strengths of AFC or G20 participants to deliver on concrete programs. I would quote 2, for example, the International Research Initiative for Wheat Improvement, or the Global Earth Observation for Agriculture Monitoring. 3, it's not only about devising actions for G20 members, but really to make it available to developing countries and the farmers in these countries. So with the projects, for example, such as the Tropical Agriculture Platform, the idea is really to use the knowledge of the G20 members from China, from Mexico, from Brazil, from France, from Japan, and to transfer that to developing countries. 4th and finally, the real point, the ultimate objective, is to make an impact. So the G20 and the AFC action on agricultural research for development focuses on making a difference on the ground. And there I would quote one of the projects, which is AgResults. This aims to overcome the barriers to investment through concrete projects, for example, in the field of improved storage technologies, vitamin A fortification, or eradication of aflatoxin in Africa. So it's about vision, it's about gathering the strengths of the participants, it's about serving the developing countries, and it's about making a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I have time constraint, and probably won't be able to have feedback from the house to the panelists. I hope you will bear with me because the next session otherwise will be extended. So I would now request my panelists here to just take 1 minute each and give their key messages relating to the theme of this panel discussion, which is innovation for impact on smallholder farmers, how they see their challenges can be met, and what opportunities they see which we should harness. So I would start again from Esther to begin with.
Raj again. We would like to tell the agriculture research for development community who are present here, we need your support. Okay? We need your support for us to do and upscale sustainable, resilient, integrated, diversified agriculture with small-scale women and men farmers, and having also women farmers, giving them equal opportunities for all the research, the technologies, and all the activities, the services that you will give to them. So we appreciate that you are putting small-scale farmers at the center. And I think it is also because of the work of many NGOs here and the farmers' organizations here who have constantly called for this. So we are eager to partner with people, with private sector, with governments, with NGOs, and with research institutions, especially at the national level, because it is where the action counts, at the national level. So please seek out farmers groups. IFAD knows where they are, FAO knows where they are, national governments know who they are. So please seek out the farmers groups at local level, national level, regional level, and international level, and engage them in decision making, engage them in the design, in the implementation, in the monitoring and evaluation of your research projects. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the strong voice of the farmer. I come now to Carlos Sere, please.
To leave 3 messages with you. I think we're confronting a world with very rapid changes, and this really puts a premium on innovation. This is why it's so damn important to work on innovation. To achieve that, the real challenge is to get everybody to learn faster. And that means learning through science, but learning through indigenous knowledge, learning through practical experience. We need to invest in everybody learning. That's the only way we're going to do it. And finally, I'd like to remind us all that research is an important piece of this conundrum, but the real challenge is putting all these different parts, the research, the context, the environment, the investments, we have to put it all together. This is our collective challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alexander, could we have your final words, please?
Phone would work. Yeah, microphone
Yes.
is working. This is really innovative. So from my perspective, innovation in agricultural research for development has to contribute to eradicate poverty, and it has a special challenge if we link it to the Zero Hunger Challenge of the Secretary General. What has to be done that we can achieve the Zero Hunger Challenge is, for me, the benchmark for all the efforts we are undertaking with regard to improving the livelihoods of poor people. Ultimately, innovation has to be proved on the ground, and therefore, Zero Hunger Challenge is for me the overarching benchmark. The second issue is we have to link traditional knowledge with modern science. And here we have to create new platforms where we can share knowledge and where people from the north and the south could really work together. Third item is we have to use innovation to increase the resilience of our systems. We know that the big elephant in the room is climate change, with a possible devastating impact on especially small-scale farmers. And innovation has to concentrate also on increasing the resilience of farming systems of poor people.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Could Sujiro, we hear from you? Use both. Or the one which works.
Is working.
Thank you very much, Raj. My final message would be a call to all of us to turn this G-card from an event, and Carlos said it's difficult to organize events of this magnitude, into a real process. A process which makes a difference. And for G-Card 3 in 2014, I would like us all together to make a difference for the International Year of Family Farming, how we can contribute to that process. For the post-2015 discussion, how we deliver on the future we want, the outcome document from Rio, in particular its paragraph 114, which is about agricultural research for development, but also how we make sure we balance the 3 pillars of sustainable development for food security. The environmental pillar of sustainable agriculture, the social pillar of providing food for everyone, and the economic pillar of making sure that agriculture and rural development is a driver for growth. And a third process where I think we should also deliver through G-Card in 2014 is the climate and agriculture discussion, because we will be approaching very much the time when we have to make decisive moves towards the final regime on climate change. Thank you very much, Raj.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Victor,
Thank you,
Now
Dr.
we want-
Baroda. Representing an hemispheric organization, I would like to stress the issue of partnership. Coming from an organization that involves 34 member countries, we are being able to accumulate knowledge and accumulate experiences through this partnership. So facing the new challenge that agriculture will comply with and have to comply with, only through the real partnership we will be able to accomplish this new task. So I would like to reiterate that this organization, along with the different governments, we are better prepared to comply with the demands of the farmers. So partnership is a very key important issue here.
Well, fellow delegates, it's time now to conclude this session. I won't take long because already we are crossing the time limit which we had fixed for this session. Good messages have come. We need anticipatory research and foresight relating to the needs of smallholder farmers as a process to continue as we move forward. It has also been recognized that we need to have impact now. So outscaling of innovation for impact is an urgency. And which are these innovations? We must all sit together and work out for each eco-regional conditions and try to see what collectively we can do. It has very clearly been brought out that we need to link research with development. If this void would continue, possibly we would not be able to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. It has also been very clearly reflected that we need stronger partnership with all stakeholders, but very different kind of partnership, which is north-south or public-private partnership. And this would require an enabling environment to be put in place, and we must try to see what best can be done. And also it has come out clearly that farmer-led innovations should also be recognized. Traditional knowledge, farmer-led innovation. And they need to be further refined through our collective research. And therefore, farmers' participatory approach for research becomes important. And for development becomes important. And we need to empower farmers to earn, because they are not only farmer for farming. They are producing and they are able to also feed their own families, and 60% of the rural population is dependent on agriculture. So if we can empower them as producer and bring in inclusive market-oriented development, possibly we will be achieving faster the Millennium Development Goals. I won't go further. There are many other messages you might have already noted, but I would like to take this opportunity to request you to give a big hand to these panelists. Finally, I have an announcement that these people may kindly remain here for fixing the microphone and its testing. Lourdes Adriano, Bridget Musa, Karen Brooks, Carla Hora, and Prabhu Pingali for the next panel. Thank you very much, and we conclude this session.